How do we regain al-Roushd once again? By Jawdat Said. Al-Roushd and the stage of maturity is when a human reaches the phase of distinguishing between a profitable deal and a losing one. From this standpoint, the Almighty said, "And test the orphans until they reach the age of marriage. If you then find sound judgment in them, release their property to them." Meaning, test the orphans under your care when they reach physical maturity. If you perceive maturity in their behavior and actions, and find that in them, then hand over their property to them. This is a social law concerning the guardianship of minors and testing them to see if they have overcome their immaturity so that they can be given the freedom to manage their finances. It is said in the stories on this topic that a guardian managing an orphan's affairs would record in a register the expenses and earnings of the orphan's estate, including investments. Once, the minor saw in this register amounts spent on sandals for camels and questioned if camels are indeed shod with sandals. The guardian replied, "My son, when you understand this, take your money and manage it yourself. You have reached maturity." What I want to say, and to prevail over social realities, I call it thus instead of saying magic, illusion, and ignorance, is how do we guide immature nations towards maturity and test them to know that they have matured or reached maturity? These nations can only be protected through awareness and leading them from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge. But if the one who will lead them out of illusion is the one who benefits from these nations living in illusion, then how can salvation or regaining of al-Roushd be achieved? From here, I have come to feel that humans need divine guidance to liberate human understanding. And for this reason, we find that the prophets alone are the ones who brought the true social theory, not a fictitious one. The world to this day is living a fictitious theory and has not recognized the human capacity for understanding. Just as the guardian of the orphan handed over his wealth when he understood that camels, like horses, have no need for sandals, so too will the arrogant on earth hand over the land, wealth, resources, and people to their rightful owners when they begin to understand and become aware, without wars to liberate consciousness. And what do you know of awareness? Knowledge elevates. Are those who know equal to those who do not know? Only those of understanding will remember. The social beliefs that dominated people in the past were a tacitly accepted and implicitly agreed upon hidden creed without declaration, because it was taken for granted that the best use of humans is to scare, coerce, and threaten them, not to convince them. This assumption governed history in the past and still does, even if there are now refreshing breezes or bright colors beginning to blow or appear amidst tragedies and darkness. But the prophets came with their vision in striking clarity, even if people could not understand them due to their long history of submission to terror, coercion, and intimidation. It's not wrong for a person to fear, but to fear the real fear, not the imaginary one. For this reason, Abraham, the father of the prophets, was freed from imaginary fear and felt that the real fear was something else, to sell himself cheaply. Thus, Abraham said in his dialogue with his people, when they tried to scare him with their gods, that they could harm him. And he debated with his people, saying, "Do you argue with me about God when he has guided me? I do not fear what you associate with him. And why should I fear what you associate with him, while you do not fear that you have associated with God that for which he has not sent down to you authority? So which of the two parties has more right to security, if you should know? Those who believe and do not mix their belief with injustice, those will have security, and they are rightly guided. And that is our argument we gave to Abraham against his people. We elevate in degree whom we will. Indeed, your Lord is wise and knowing." Knowledge liberates humans, just as it liberated Abraham. He exposed illusions and idols, and no longer feared. The fear lies in humans losing knowledge in science, following illusions, submitting to magic and the authority of force, rather than the authority of knowledge and rightful power derived from the progeny of knowledge's strength and its dominion. Now, in the era of postmodernity, the question arises, is knowledge power, or is power a result of knowledge? In the Gospel of John, what Abraham decrees is echoed. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. When we understand God's law, discern right from wrong, and realize that camels, unlike horses, do not have their feet shod with iron, there is no need for a declaration of war or the unsheathing of swords. Yet this awareness was very rare throughout history. Destruction often befell nations, and there were none who escaped ruin except for the people of Jonah. God says, "Was there any town that believed, and the faith at that moment saved it, except the people of Jonah? When they believed, we removed from them the punishment of disgrace in the worldly life, and gave them enjoyment for a while." The history of people's submission to illusions and magic is regrettable. However, the scarcity of knowledge about history and the means of transferring knowledge were obstacles. How could it not be so in those days? And here we are, living in this era, yet unable to read history and see the extraordinary exceptions that this age has demolished. For example, if God cites the people of Jonah, we can also cite Japan, which surrendered unconditionally and signed the document of absolute surrender. This country managed to free itself, rise, and become a leader in the world without relying on any power other than the power of science, which breeds all forms of strength. Science is what supersedes what has become obsolete. This remote country, with its limited land and no significant wealth, managed to free itself without war or nuclear bombs. They alone, among all the nations of the world, experienced the calamity of the nuclear bomb before everyone else. I believe that no one after them will face such destruction. It is enough for a person to be bitten from a hole once so as not to repeat the mistake again. If God commands us to take lesson from those who perished and warns us not to become like what they turned into, he also mentions to us the rare exceptions in history, both nations and individuals. The Quran mentions the stance of a single individual from Pharaoh's family who testified to the truth and said, "A believing man from Pharaoh's household who concealed his faith. Would you kill a man because he says, 'My Lord is Allah,' while he has brought you clear signs from your Lord? If he is lying, then his lie is upon him. But if he is truthful, then some of what he promises you will befall you. Indeed, Allah does not guide one who is a transgressor and a liar. O my people, sovereignty is yours today, clear in the land, but who will help us against the force of Allah if it comes to us?" Pharaoh said, "I show you only what I see, and I guide you only to the path of right conduct." And the one who believed said, "O my people, indeed I fear for you a fate like the day of the parties, like the custom of the people of Noah and Ad and Thamud and those after them. And Allah does not intend injustice for his servants." The Quran highlights the position of one man from an entire nation, presents his historical arguments, what happened to nations, and follows the method of historical knowledge and the fates of nations. It also mentions the story of the believer from the family of Yasin, and a man came from the farthest end of the city, running. He said, "O my people, follow the messengers." This is a reference to history, the stances of nations, and the stance of a specific individual on a particular issue. We want someone to come from the farthest ends of the earth once again to say, "Is there not among you a wise man?" O my people, follow the messengers, follow those who ask no reward of you and who are rightly guided. The task of the messengers is not to take a reward for knowledge and understanding. They did not believe in the ownership of ideas nor in trading ideas. Those who trade ideas are the same ones who trade in weapons. This is the disease of the world. How do we regain Roushd from history? History is the teacher to whom God refers us. Travel through the land and see what was the end of the deniers. Now look, isn't it only Japan that was liberated without killing a single American or Japanese through the humiliating surrender by ideas and not by weapons? But look at history. There's another unique advanced model. Europe, which unites without anyone losing anything, and everyone gains. Neither the king, the president, nor the prince lose land, money, borders, or wealth. It's all a new event in history. But as we missed the event of Muhammad with miracles, so now the same with the European event as not being a human affair or a law that can be understood, but as magic and miracles. There is no teacher but history and the pains. If what has passed is not enough, wait for what is to come. God will not change his laws with miracles, but rather by you changing what is within yourselves.